We have Dr. Sundas Arshad from Mercy Health Center, who's, I think, going to give us tips on how to be safe. And I think it's very important. And then we have the Dean's panel, and then we have the faculty voices. And of course, I forgot, we have Gloria and also now to come on with Gloria and Sundas. So Dr. Trimble, what would you suggest that we continue? I think the best way is to continue.
I think it is vital to hear from Dr. Gloria and Dr. Sundas. We will have to ask the deans to only restrict their comments to the most vital, and perhaps maybe not everyone would need to say anything unless there's something that can't be communicated by email. And I'm afraid we'll have to drop the activity at the end.
That's the faculty voices. You think that could be dropped. That's what you're saying.
I'm afraid we are running out of time.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. That makes my task easy. So we go on to, I don't want to say it, but Mustafa and Sarwan really overstepped the time. They did a great job that was needed. That's not what I'm saying. Or I'm just saying that it put the program into a bind. But over to Gloria. Gloria, you're going to tell us now about some of the new policies that are crucial for us to know. Thank you, Gloria.
Thank you, Dr. Rukhsana. So good afternoon, everyone. And I understand that we are running late. So in this presentation, I'll try to be quick, and I'll focus on most important things. And of course, we are in touch with you, and other things we will be communicating with you through email. So this is the first time that I'm speaking to faculty after spring 2020, and I want to start with a thank you note. Thank you everyone for your resilience. And resilience was the key word in the previous session that Dr. Aisha Atiq just led. And not only that, I think resilience was a key word in spring 2020 as well. So we are very thankful to you for your excellent service at FC and for extending grace towards our students, for working with them on their incomplete grades as well. And I also want to thank you for your support towards admission process. And I have been recently in touch with most of you, and you have volunteered in this process. So thank you. And with your help, we are able to achieve our 100% goal and target for our admissions. So thank you. So in this presentation, mainly I'll be focusing on academic operations and our policies. If you will have any questions, I'm available after the session. So as you know, for the blended calendar, we have given an option to students that they can file a petition and they can have an exception from the blended calendar. So I want to just inform you that there are three categories of students. There are students who will be completely online in fall 2020, and this is basically because of their medical conditions or their compromised immune system. So I have asked those students, whenever I have approved the petition, that they need to get in touch with their instructors once their registration is finalized. So that is students' responsibility who have received an exception, that they will get in touch with you. Then we have another group, and that is, of course, who will be following the blended calendar. That would be face-to-face and then online. Then we have the third group, and that is a group that has an exception to be on campus most of the time. This is a small group, maybe just 20 to 30 students so far. And this is a group who is actually with exception because they are coming on campus with their siblings or with their friends, or they have medical conditions and they need help or support from another person to move around. I'm talking about people and students with special needs. So in all these cases, whenever approval is given, the students are told and instructed to get in touch with the faculty members. And if you will have any queries, feel free to get back to me. Then we have also a group of faculty who have an exception and who will be teaching online. This includes a couple of our expat community and some of our faculty members who have some medical conditions, and because of that they will not be on campus. I just want to share that the classrooms that are allotted to those faculty members will be reserved for those courses. We are not going to change any allotment for these classes. So if your students are on the campus, they can use those classrooms, or if faculty member changes the mind or circumstances are changed, when you come back on the campus, you will have a classroom. Attendance policy, as we are dealing with the 3 different modalities, it is very difficult at this stage to give a standard policy on attendance. So that is why it's entirely up to the instructors that how you want to actually set up an attendance policy in your class. All we can say is that when you talk about attendance policy in your course outline, please be clear to the students. It is in one sense easier to maintain attendance record in synchronous mode in face-to-face interaction, but for asynchronous it would be difficult, and it would be good if you can actually attach an activity with your lecture so that you know that the student has attended that lecture. And again, if attendance has some weightage in the grading, please reconsider that, and if that is the case, please make sure the students are clear on that. We have been talking a lot about students' equity, and we have had some student voices as well. I just want to remind you again that we do have some vulnerable student groups in our student body. This includes especially our incoming freshman class. We are starting our freshman experience on 19th, and it will be again on a blended mode of even and odd, but that group is the most vulnerable group. So please be mindful of those students. Then we are also receiving petitions from students who got infected with COVID-19 or other medical issues. Please extend grace towards them whenever there is a need for some advice or some administrative support. Please do not hesitate to contact myself or Dr. Trimble. Then we haven't been talking about resources of students as well. At this point, I would like to say that we realize and understand that there are challenges, especially when it comes to resources, but in administration as well, we do have our limitations. And there will be students who will not have laptops. There will be students who will have problem with internet accessibility issues and other things. So for such students, if their problem is going on for a longer time, please again feel free to connect with us, and we can see if we need to ask students to withdraw from those from courses, or if we can help them in some way. Then another important point is about sexual harassment. After spring 2020, we had a few cases that were reported and a couple of terminations that took place because students have been harassing other students. And we have policies in place. We will be sharing some documents with you. Please go through those documents and talk with your students about this so that they are aware that in case of harassment, what they should be doing. Regarding use of social media for academic purposes, I understand that in the current stage, it is very difficult to limit ourselves. In some ways, it is very difficult. But on the other side, sometimes we end up in the weeds and we have so many problems related to the excessive use of social media. So we do not have any policy at the moment about usage of social media for academic purposes. We just have a document which will talk about some guidelines and recommendations. And this comes from a perspective to help faculty members to protect themselves, and also it has a goal to protect the privacy of students. So we have two documents. One is about guidelines of using social media, which is talking about how to get familiar with privacy settings, and also how to have your own boundaries and timetable to not be available to students 24/7, because we are concerned for your well-being as well. Then we have another document that is about WhatsApp broadcasting, and it has instructions that how you can create WhatsApp groups in which the students' privacy would be protected. Because with WhatsApp group, what has happened that numbers of students have been shared with the other student groups within the class, and it has created some problems for the students. So it is very important to take consent from students who do not want to be there. I do understand that it has its own challenges when it comes to getting in touch with students, but we recommend that please use our own LMS, that is Moodle, and wherever it is needed for WhatsApp, please go through that document. It will help you to protect the privacy of the students. Then academic integrity issues. Since this morning as well, we have been talking about it a lot. We are in process of updating our policy, and we understand that there are some genuine concerns about the strictness of that policy, and that is why we are actually in a process to revise it. But I'll encourage you, and I was very pleased that the number of times faculty members actually mentioned that. Please do not hesitate to report those issues. We are willing to actually go through those cases on case-by-case basis. So please do report those academic integrity issues, and we will be looking into them. Disciplinary issues, actually, this came from CLT, but my response would be that please deal with disciplinary issues in a way that you would do in your normal class setting. But if something goes beyond your control, please feel free to get back to us, and we can see where Vice Rector's office or Proctor's office has to step in. So please don't hesitate if there are concerns and issues regarding that. Academic support services, this is for your information that most of our academic support services will be online, and with our academic support office and academic advising offices, the main doors are closed, and we have open student windows. If you have visited N Block, you would see that there are windows being opened so that students would not go in those offices. Again, this is to protect our staff as well, and also to protect the students. So another important thing is that this time we are not sending any course packs or USBs. So if there will be a problem, if students have connectivity issues or other problems, we might ask them to withdraw from the course or drop their course retroactively rather than lingering it on and with a lot of problems. So it will need some personal attention and some discussion. Faculty advising, this is our recommendation that for faculty advising, please stick with online advising because some of the faculty members are using shared offices, and again, we do not have more space to give you an individual office. So some of the faculty member have reasonably a big office, so it's up to you. If you can, you are comfortable inviting your students in your office for advising, that would be fine, but we recommend that please keep them online. Then we have seat exceptions. Seat exceptions, again, you are familiar with the process, that will be online, and academic services office is actually closely working with the health and safety office, and we are just assessing that in which what is our classroom capacity, and in that context, we are not allowing more than 22 students to, we are just arranging, I should say, that we are just arranging for 22 students to sit in one classroom. And we are in process to just view where we need to switch the classrooms and all, make proper arrangements. So seat exceptions will be there, but we will not go beyond 40. So it will be limited, a cutoff is 40, but where there are cases where there are rising seniors or juniors who need to take that course, we will be looking into that situation case by case. And then the last thing is about classroom settings. As I said, that Health and Safety Office is also working with us, and we are in process of arranging classroom furniture in a way that social distancing will be made possible. We are putting stickers on the floor of stand here and also on the doors of wearing masks. And again, I'll say that it is a shared responsibility that we all have to take, where we have to remind students to wear their masks and to follow the strict SOPs. And also there is some extra furniture in the classes. This is to ensure social distancing, and we do not have storage space, so that is why we couldn't take that furniture out. So just to let you know that there are some classroom settings there in order to ensure the health and safety environment in the class. So these are just some of the things that I wanted to share with you today. But if there are any questions, I'm not sure about the time, I'm available. Feel free to get in touch with me on email as well. And as a last note, I'll say that we will survive. If we can survive spring 2020, surely we can survive fall 2022. So all the best, and thank you so much.
Perfect, Gloria. I think you covered all the main points. There was one query, many of the queries were answered by Sufyan in the chat, so that took care of that. But I did see one query about cyberbullying in this, and I wondered if there had been a policy for that, because privacy in the cloud has become a real issue. So is there something about that?
So we do have a policy in place, and actually we will be sharing 3 links with you about cyberbullying, social media guidelines, and WhatsApp. So I'll just actually share it through you so that it is together with other resources.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Gloria. And now, since we don't have any other questions, there are questions about class sizes and class numbers, and I think Sufyan has responded to them. I go over to Mercy Health Center, Dr. Sundar Sarshad. Thank you so much. You have been waiting such a long time. I apologize. We are going, we have had some issues, internet. Anyway, over to you, Sundar.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Let me introduce myself before. I am Dr. Sundar Sarshad from Mercy Health Center at Forman Christian College. I'm basically here today to guide all of you guys briefly about how to protect yourself and your surroundings and the people around you in this pandemic situation. So let me share the slide. I hope everyone is able to see.
Not yet, but it takes time. That's okay.
Right.
Yes. You have got your iPhone on, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good job. Good job.
It's actually convenient.
Yeah.
All right, let me start. By now, all of you would have known what COVID-19 is. So quickly, just introducing this virus to you. This is actually a new kind of coronavirus. Coronaviruses have been causing illnesses in the mammals and the birds and humans before, but this is a new kind of strain, which is called severe acute respiratory syndrome CoV-2. And this virus is basically causing an illness, a special kind of disease in the humans, which is more likely to be respiratory. And the disease is named as COVID-19. So basically, as you all know, that this disease had an outbreak firstly in Wuhan city of China. And it was later reported by the WHO as a health emergency. And by we are having almost 3 lakh cases in our country, out of which luckily and fortunately almost 2,85,000 cases have been recovered. And there were unfortunately 6,000 deaths. But if you look across the border, the number is really very high, which kind of gives us an idea that we should also be very careful. about the spread of the disease, and we should not take it light that what you are seeing around, that people are now have now started to take it very light, and they are not actually looking after the precautionary measures properly. But we have to do that to save ourselves. Now, let me tell you briefly that how this coronavirus disease it spreads. As you all can look at your screen, basically it is not an airborne disease. It is basically spreading by droplets. So there is droplet transmission. Like if a patient who is suffering from COVID-19, he or she coughs or sneezes, and the droplets, they are deposited on various surfaces, and then we have contact with those surfaces, or we may have direct contact with the patient. Then these droplets, we can introduce these droplets in our body through our eyes, nose, and mouth. So there are three areas from where these droplets, they can enter our system and our body. That is from our eyes, nose, and mouth. So this also gives all of us an idea that if we properly cover our face, like our nose and our lips properly are covered by the face mask, and we maintain a social distance, as all of everyone around us is saying to maintain social distance. So there we get an idea that basically we are going to protect ourselves from those droplets which can be infected, and the disease can be introduced in your body. So basically, you have to be very careful with in case you are come in contact with the person. You should maintain a very safe distance from any person, whether he or she is infected, because many times the person himself does not know that he or she is infected. He can be a carrier of the virus. So basically, you have to be very careful with the wearing your mask, and I'll tell you the details of it later. Symptoms: how can COVID-19 be presenting? Sometimes the people, they are carrying the COVID-19 virus, but they are not having any symptoms relating to it. So you have to be careful about it. But if it presents with the symptoms, most often they are either fever, you're running a high grade or low grade fever. There are chills, there can be cough, sore throat, like any other respiratory illness. You can have respiratory symptoms, but you can also have gastrointestinal symptoms, like you can have nausea, you can have vomiting or diarrhea. There also can be shortness of breath, and a very serious but less common, comparatively less common, serious manifestation of this illness is pneumonia. The deaths we usually are seeing with COVID-19 are because of this widespread pneumonia, and the respiratory system is involved very badly, and they can go into the respiratory distress. But the lighter symptoms like cough, minor fever, sore throat, it should also not be taken very lightly in this pandemic situation. I'll guide you about that, but that what to do when you are suffering from these kinds of symptoms. Now, who is at a high risk for complications? Like we can have COVID-19 and we can be fine, but other people who are like immunocompromised in some way, they are having any chronic conditions, like they are having diabetes, asthma, or they are having high blood pressures, or any kind of chronic infections, chronic kidney disease, or stuff like that, or people who are older, or the pregnant ladies, or the people who have weakened immune system, they can get the virus and they can be seriously affected by that virus. So we need to be very careful about the spread of this disease. So if I talk about the SOPs for the students who are returning back to the campus, so first of all and foremost, you have been listening to it for a while now, that you have to wear a mask whenever you are in a public space at campus. You need to wear a mask all the time. And you need to at least maintain a distance of at least 6 feet, like in the classrooms, in the laboratories, cafeteria, staircases, everywhere. In all the places, you have to maintain a safe distance from everyone. Whatever distance is possible for you, try to maintain a safe distance. Like, do not gather up. Like, if it is not required, it's not urgent, do not gather up at any place, anytime. You should maintain very good hygiene practices. And soap and water thing, you have been listening, that you have to, if your hands are like visibly dirty by some contamination, like you have eaten your food, or you have been doing stuff they are visibly dirty, then you have to ultimately wash them with soap and water. Like properly, I'll be guiding you about the proper hand wash technique and the proper mask wearing technique later. But you have to wash it properly. But if they are not visibly contaminated, you can also use a hand sanitizer instead of washing your hands, or if the facility is not available. Alcohol-based hand sanitizers, they are widely available in the market. And you have to use the designated entrances and exits. This can also limit the spread of the disease at our campus. And if you are using any equipments which are being used by other people as well, like printers and photocopiers, they have proper restrictions for how to use them and what should be what measures you should take. And you have to sanitize your hands before and after the use of those equipments. You have to be very careful about them as well. And moving on, I'd like to tell you that we were also introducing this thing. And if you can maintain a diary of the contact, like if you can maintain a diary of the contact, any student or any faculty member on campus, if he or she can easily maintain a diary, he or she can write that whom I met today and where I have been today. This can be helpful at a later stage, that if unfortunately that person comes out to be COVID positive, that will be very convenient for the authorities to to follow the people, like to follow and to limit the communal spread, and to find out that who has been in contact with the person, and we can get them tested as well. So you need to limit your movement. This is also a very important point in case, this is also a very important point if you want to just, limit the spread of the disease, that if it is not required, try to stay at a single place. Do not just move around and limit your movements. Let's coming on to hand washing. Hand washing, I would like to tell you that you have to wash your hands regularly with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. It's better if you wash them for 30 seconds at least. And if they are visibly dirty, as I told you, then you have to wash it with soap and water. Otherwise, you can use alcohol-based sanitizer. And after washing, you can wipe your hands with the paper towel or with clean towels and keep them dry. Other things, if you let me tell you that when to wash your hands at least before leaving your home, and when you are arriving at the university campus, you can also again wash your hand first after using your toilet, or after any breaks or sporting activities, before preparing your food, after eating your food, and before leaving the university. This will, okay, now you can see the slide on your screens. This is the proper way to basically disinfect your hands and to wash your hands in a way that they become free from the virus. Like the step one as they're showing you that you have to rub your palms together. And number two, you have to do it for like few seconds. And then you have to rub the back of both hands. Then you have to rub the back of both hands. Step number three is telling you that you have to interlace your fingers and then rub your hands together. Then you have to interlock your fingers and rub the back of fingers of both hands. This technique actually covers all of the parts of your hand properly and disinfect them. Like then you have, as the thumb was quite outside the procedure. So basically rub the thumb in a rotating manner, followed by the area between the index finger and the thumb of both hands. Then you have to do this maneuver to wash your thumb properly. And then rub your fingertips on the palm of both your hands. This will basically help you to clean your nails or any debris or any virus or anything that is basically contaminating your nails. This maneuver will help with that. And then you have to rub your wrist in a rotating manner, rinse and dry thoroughly. Then you have to do this. So this whole procedure will take at least 30 seconds, like 20 to 30 seconds. And this will properly disinfect your hands. And this washing hand technique, it basically drastically reduces the spread of the diseases as guided by the CDC and the WHO. This can limit the disease to a very great extent. Now, moving on, basically, whenever you are coughing or sneezing, you are supposed to sneeze in the crook of your elbow. That will be very helpful instead of using your hands in front of your mouth. Otherwise, your hands will be contaminated and you can spread the disease by contaminating the other surfaces. Like if you are feeling unwell, you should stay at home and you should avoid close contact with people who are unwell. Now, according to this, now I would like to tell you that if anyone, like any student or any faculty member or staff or employee is having symptoms of coronavirus, as I told before, that fevers, chills, sore throat, headache, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, or anything, what they can do easily is they should at least stay at home. They should inform their head of department. Further, what they should do is they can call on a number which I'll be providing you at the end of this PowerPoint slide. I'll be telling you that you can contact us at Mercy Health Center and we can guide you briefly about what to do and how to manage your symptoms at home and when to get your test done. All right, moving on. Basically, now I'll tell you briefly about how to wear a mask. There's a discrepancy. People do not know about that. Basically, the dark surface of the mask is needed to be, it is basically the outside of the mask. And the lighter surface is basically the inside of the mask. You have to wear it like that. You have to hang the rope on the ears at both ends. Do not touch the front or back, the main part of the mask. Use the ropes to put it on and to put it off. Basically, there is a metal strip, nose clip, and that is the upside of the mask. That is the upside of the mask, and you have to wear it properly. It should cover your nose, it should cover your mouth, it should cover your jaw properly. The dark blue side on the outside and the lighter blue side on the inside, and the metal strip side will be on the upside of the mask. This is the way you are going to basically properly wear the mask. You can see on screen that you have to use the ropes and then you have to tie the metal clip on your nose to fix it. And once you have fixed it, you should not be touching your mask again. Should not be touching or handling it during the use. And if it becomes dirty or wet due to any secretions or anything, you should immediately replace it with a dry mask. And use the appropriate technique to remove the mask and discard it immediately. And after discarding it, perform the hand hygiene, like washing your hands or sanitizing your hands. So if there is any virus or anything on the mask which have come in contact with your hands, it should go away. Like if you feel sick, I told you, you have to stay at home. You should contact us on a number I'm going to give you. You should drink plenty of fluids, take your temperature regularly, and you should not be coming back to the work at least 72 hours after the fever ends. Like you should be having at least 72 hours of fever-free period to come back to the work. And if you have to go out for some reason, you can wear the mask and avoid the close contact, especially with the people who are older, who are having chronic diseases, who are immunocompromised. Avoid contact with them. So this is the contact number you can see on your screen. You have to call us on this number. This is 0300 064 2006. You can call us on this number. We can guide you about your symptoms and how to treat yourselves, like conservative management of your symptoms at home, and when to get your COVID-19 testing done. If and when required, we'll be telling you and guiding you over this phone. And any person who is found to be COVID positive, the strategy is basically that we have to isolate him from others. He or she should be staying at home, and we are going to close the place which he was using for 24 hours and clean it thoroughly. Later coming to, I have already told you about this. Basically, the diary thing which I told you, that would be helpful. If any person who becomes COVID positive and we have to trace his contacts, that whom he have been in contact with for the last 14 days or 10 days, or that would be very easier if you have kept a record of whom you met in these days. And the individual who is found to be COVID-19 positive will be allowed to return to campus when he or she is being cleared by MHC. So this is basically how, thank you so much, everyone. This is basically how you are supposed to protect yourself and your surroundings by keeping proper hand hygiene, by covering your face with the mask, by doing exercises, by eating healthy, and taking care of your medications if you are having any chronic illness. I hope I have helped all of you in some way. Any questions?
I think you said it so well and you were so clear, Sundas. It was a joy to listen to all the steps that you put in one by one. And
Thank you so much,
it
ma'am.
actually clarified a lot of things as well while I was listening to you, and I did not know some of them. Thank you so much. Now and thank you for waiting, Sundas, and thank you
No
for
problem,
your time.
ma'am.